Hi, this is me, and I am currently living in Finland. While living in this international environment, I have met and made friends from many different countries and started to notice something. When mentioning my last name, I often get the same questions. How do you pronounce it? Why are there so many Vietnamese with the surname Nguyễn? Are you related to each other? You've maybe seen it on your Facebook feed, on books, magazines, or you may see it on television.
Hi, I'm Nam Nguyen and I'm the 2015 Canadian National Champion.
Or recognize it from your Vietnamese friends. It's pronounced Nguyễn and is a common Vietnamese family name. Written in Vietnamese, it looks like this. It is the surname of almost 40% of the Vietnamese population, and it is not only common inside Vietnam but also in other countries. The story how it became so common, of course, has everything to do with Vietnamese history and takes place over 3 stages. First, if you go back to the 5th century, the Nguyễn surname is believed to originate from the Chinese surname Ròn. During a difficult time in China, in order to survive, a large part of the Ròn family from 3 different parts of China all moved together to the south and immigrated to Vietnam. Over time, they set up a base in Vietnam for the growth of the Nguyễn surname. Though it didn't spread too far at this time, because in the medieval era, people from lower classes didn't usually have last names. It was something mainly reserved for higher class people. In the year 1000, Vietnam was under control of the Lý dynasty. Then, in the year 1232, the Trần dynasty took over. Trần Thủ Độ, who was now in charge of Vietnam, required all of the members of the Lý royal family to change their last name into Nguyễn. He did this so the existence of the Lý family would be erased from history. The reason why he chose Nguyễn of all the surnames available is unknown to this day. Note that in Vietnam, the surname comes first. Trần Thủ Độ would be known as Thủ Độ Trần in the Western name order. A related thing happened in 1400. The whole family defeated the Trần and required the Trần dynasty to change their surname to Nguyễn. This then became a tradition. Whenever the country was taken over by a new empire, it was an unwritten rule that the royal families of the previous dynasty had to change their names to Nguyễn. The last royal dynasty in Vietnam was Nguyễn, as you may guess. During this time, people who had the same last name as the royal family were more likely to receive more benefits. Therefore, a lot of people changed their surnames to Nguyễn. And prisoners took advantage of this also to receive better treatment. One of the most well-known Vietnamese revolutionaries and politicians, Ho Chi Minh, a name that you have probably heard before, but his birth name was actually Nguyễn Sinh Cung. The spread of the Nguyễn surname then continued to increase in the 19th century when Vietnam became the territories of the French. When they started a large-scale population investigation across Vietnam, they found that many people of the lower classes didn't have last names. This created a huge challenge in that many Vietnamese also had the same first name. To solve the problem and complete their census, the French decided to assign the Nguyễn surname to anyone without one. They chose Nguyễn because it's from the last dynasty. So in summary, the initial Chinese influences, and then the naming tradition of different brands in Vietnam, and then the French population census explains why Nguyễn is the most common surname in Vietnam. It also explains why you may encounter many Vietnamese with the Nguyễn surname, but in most cases, actually are not related. Besides the popularity, Nguyễn is also a name that is a tongue twister for most of my non-Vietnamese friends.
Nguyen. Yeah, okay. Well, other good ones would be Nguyen. No.
Nguyen? Because you told me. I remember actually before what I used to say was Nguyen.
Nguyen.
There are a lot of ways to pronounce this last name, and depending on who you ask, they may all be correct. As for the way I pronounce it, when I say my last name, maybe this will help. It looks like it has 2 syllables, but I pronounce it with just one, Nguyễn. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you find something useful. See you in my next video. Bye!